So I want you to imagine that you're living 20,000 years ago in a tribe of hunter-gatherers. And the elders of that community tell you to go out and forage for some food. So you pick a direction and you start walking. And eventually you stumble upon a horde of mushrooms. And you think to yourself, this is big. This could feed dozens of my people for days. So you start collecting all of the mushrooms into your satchel. And as you do so, you start to feel really good, even excited. And this is because your brain is being flooded with dopamine. Now, why is your brain doing this? Well, it's because we evolved this mechanism a long time ago because dopamine helps us remember what we've been doing and enhances memory. Because not only are these mushrooms a really good source of nourishment, but you need to remember how to get back to them. Because you have to remember, in the world you're living in 20,000 years ago, food is not always a guarantee. And this is why something like this grilled cheese sandwich, which has a lot of butter and fat in it, when you eat it, your brain lights up with dopamine and tells you to eat as much as possible because your body wants to store the excess calories as fat just in case you don't get the opportunity to eat again in the future. So you finish gathering up as many of these mushrooms as you can into your satchel, and you look around to make sure that nobody else is watching you. Because even though there's only about 1 million people on the earth at this point in time, you're all competing for the same scarce resources. Seeing nobody, you make your way back to your encampment. And you remember how you got there because there's the dopamine in your brain. And when you get in, you start showing everybody what it is that you found. And they're looking at the mushrooms and they're all super happy. They're patting you on the back, they're smiling at you, which releases more dopamine because that helps you feel bonded to them and they feel bonded to you. And you need that because you rely on each other for safety. That evening, after everyone has enjoyed partaking of your mushrooms, you retreat back into your tent with your partner. The dopamine released during sex feels really good. But even more importantly, the consequence of that rendezvous is that you might have conceived a child. And that's really important because for every child conceived in your day and time, more than half will not make it into adulthood due to miscarriages, disease, and infections. Now, why have I told you this story? Because I want you to appreciate how the chemical architecture of our brains evolved under conditions of scarcity and deprivation. Our brains utilize dopamine to reinforce certain behaviors that are going to help us survive under really difficult conditions by making those activities pleasurable. So, for example, sex is pleasurable because it helps us to reproduce. Spending time with other people is pleasurable because we rely on them for safety. Being able to eat food is pleasurable because it helps us stay alive. And finding that food is even pleasurable because you've solved a puzzle that other people weren't able to solve. You found food that they didn't know existed. The issue is our world is no longer defined by scarcity and deprivation, and the evolutionary architecture of our brains are faltering under the stress. And to explain to you what I mean by this, I want you to join me downstairs.